Hello. This is AJT500 slash challenge track 98 slash Heloise Wonderwise slash Hilo slash Sarasis Cake Heart. And this is the post Guild War Ramble for Water Guild War 2026. If you're new to this series, pretty much I do a pre Guild War Ramble before the Guild War, talking about what I think will be used in the Guild War and, you know, theory crafting and stuff like that. And then post Guild War Ramble is where I go over the results and what I actually used in the Guild War, and then I make like a tier list at the end. For one thing, very big change this time. People will probably notice that I streamed significantly less this Guild War than I have in previous ones. So sorry about that if you were expecting streams, but if you don't know, now you know. I had been in squad crew until this Guild War. Last Guild War was my last Guild War with squad crew. This Guild War I am now with slime girls. So I've been enjoying the more competitiveness of slime girls. I've been enjoying like the grouping stuff, just trying to do stuff as fast as possible, gaining as many honors as possible. I've learned a lot thanks to everyone in the crew that's helped me out with learning how to do stuff. It's been a lot to take in, but I've had a lot of fun with it, and I really enjoyed this Guild War, even though it's water and I hate water. But I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing the setups this time. So I also got to farm a lot of 90. So we can kind of go over that real quick. I farmed a lot of Celestials. I farmed a page here, and then I farmed 4 more here, and technically I had 2 more that I put into this gun. Pretty much I wanted to farm so that I could essentially max out this harp for when what's it called, Mage Origin, whenever that comes out. I want this harp on standby, and then I also wanted enough to be able to take, like, if I wanted to make this gun into something, I could take one weapon all the way from 3-star to max awakening. And the amount of Celestials that I have plus the cores that I already had lets me do that. So that's the reason why I wanted to farm this. So I did hit my goal of my Celestial drops, which is nice. But we'll just start going into this now. So it's the round, or well, the round's over, but like the Guild War isn't over yet. So just pretend there's a Sunstone here for final rally, because I'm gonna get one anyway. This is my final score here. Also here, pretty good here. Honestly, I played a lot on, well, a lot. I played for like, you know, like 3 or 4 hours, I think, like actually playing on the last day. But besides that, I was pretty much hitting 90 for my vast majority of this Guild War, just trying to get Celestials, because I have plans that I cannot reveal to you right now because the haters will sabotage me when it comes to Celestials. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for you know, the crew stuff. Good job anybody who isn't ranking in our crew. I know we had some very heavy hitters. So yeah, anyway, that's pretty much the results of the Guild War plus the Celestials and stuff. So now what I usually do is get into the setups that I use, and then we do the tier list. Now I will say, for the setups, I'm only going to show EX plus through 150, because after that I was pretty much grouping and I can't show the grouping stuff. But I do have some solo setups that I did do for 200 and 250 that I'll show off, but I really didn't do these that much. They were just full auto setups. Pretty much I just grabbed like the fastest ones off the wiki and I just did those. Yeah, I didn't really play 200 and 250 outside of like grouping stuff. So yeah. All right, so here are the setups. We start with EX plus. EX plus was pretty easy, pretty nice. Just double Kaguya, thinking open fire with Price Velger. Literally like low assets on this too. I only had thinking Tetragod and Shinji and Ray, and don't worry, we'll talk about Shinji and Ray later. But yeah, EX plus pretty much is expected. I feel like nowadays EX plus is either like one button or like an Orologia. I mean, I guess Orologia has still one button too, but it's like, you know, it's one button, or it's like a, you know, just attack or something like that. It's nothing crazy. I was using the three Diaspora katanas in this though, which is kind of funny. So that was EX Plus, and then 90. So I technically did have another 90 that I used before that was a Hrace Velger one, but I saw that this one from I think it was Hoshimiya was max drop rate, where you get like the bounty off from the whatchamacallit, the Mana Diver Manaturo. So I swapped to this instead because I need as much drop rate as possible. So yeah, but I did have a Hrace Velger one for this originally, but I ended up swapping to this one once he came out with that one, and it worked pretty well for me too. I even messed around with the Ultima a bit because I had to swap keys a lot, and it didn't really matter like too much as long as I still had my amp key on my Ultima. It kind of still just killed anyway, which is pretty nice. This is where I spent the vast majority of my time. Again, was in 90, just trying to get Celestials. Also, you can see here the double Galele. I always call it Galele. The double Galele, bruh. That thing, I don't know how good it was for like other setups, but I saw it come up like from a lot of people this Guild War, like unironically. So, yeah, I guess that's a thing now. I guess that's a thing. Now this is 150. 150 is what, one summon, three button, and then just attack. Also, this was the rise of the Full Metal Jacket 5s. Hanani, I think is how you say their name. I always forget. But Hanani the GOAT came out with the thinking, hey, if you're struggling on 150, just put in 2 Full Metal Jacket 5s at the start and just lower the defense on the enemy while you attack. Unironically, I think that saved a lot of people's 150s. It even kind of extended further than 152. So unironically, Hanani the GOAT for the Full Metal Jacket 5s. Very good. Very good, very good. And okay, and set up for that. That's pretty much it for that setup. Oh yeah, and then I show the bullets because it's Full Metal Jacket 5s. Yeah, that was indeed a thing. Now 200, so 200 and 250. I'm just gonna kind of skip through these, but 200 was, I really like this setup. Again, I didn't use 200 or 250 full auto that much because I was mostly just grouping, and then once I finished with grouping, I went back to 90 for the most part, but I did want to try them out. But this one was pretty cool because this one was Nighthound, and I liked how this one pretty much just made it so that you just like, you dispelled like pretty much everything that he did, and you also just push a stupid amount of damage on this comp, bro. Like it's honestly ridiculous how much damage water can do. Like you just have so many characters that can like double strike, and thinking with Aaliyah you can get up to like triple striking, and then, you know, with Octavia's weapon now you can make it so that you can just full auto with Hrace Velger, which is like, you literally are just using a thinking weapon of mass destruction with no downside whatsoever. So it's just like, it's really strong. It's really strong. So again, I'm gonna kind of skip through these, but yeah, pretty much the setup just made it so that you just like dispelled like everything between like Octavia, between like thinking the Bubs call, like the summer Bubs call, like all that stuff. You just plowed through that thing. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, that was the setup for this one. Pretty good. Even get to use Seeking Tetragod on that joint, which is stinking crazy. Now this 250, I think this 250 was from Hecate, I believe. This one was also like, this was the first time I really used Aaliyah like that. I think the only other time I really used her is in the Belbaroque or whatever, the new Odious raid. But this one, you got to really see her power in this one. I tried this full auto a couple times. Bro, she's so strong for stuff like that. Like she caps the fire damage, so she barely gets hit. She heals like crazy, so she keeps herself alive. Between herself and Octavia also giving you like the invuln, plus Yatima also giving you like the S2, plus in this setup you call Alexiel as well. You even bring in Summer Shalim at some points to also not only speed up Aaliyah's S3 again, but you also make it so that the boss just can't hit you with Shalim's S3. Like, also Aaliyah can just she just has like, what is it, Undying one time, and then when she's in red HP one time, she also just full heals herself too. Like it takes so much. Like one run I did on this comp, I remember she survived for like ever. She survived for like ever. She went to red HP once that wasn't 1 HP. She went to red HP once, wasn't red, or she went to red HP once, wasn't 1 HP. She full healed herself. Then she went down to 1 HP, had Undying. Then Shalim saved her. Then someone else died. I think Shalim died after she saved her. And then Maria Teresa came in and just full healed her again. And I'm like, bro, like, it's like she refuses to die. And the thing about it is, like, not only does she refuse to die, but like if she doesn't go down, your MC can't go down because she's taking all of MC's damage. So it's just like, bro, like she's tanky as crap. But anyway, this setup was pretty fun to watch. Again, didn't play it too much, but also look at like some of the honors on these seeking turns, by the way. Like let me see. I want to see one of these without the damage cap, bro. Some of the like this turn, like let's see, yeah, because this is the one of the ones where you get the tri strike, bro. Look at it, 6 million. God damn, bro. So it's seeking crazy, bro. Anyway, okay, so the setup for that, we'll go to the end here. Oh yeah, I should have shown in the 200. I never showed the time. I think I skipped the time. Okay, that was the time. It was around there for me. I know this one for the 250. This one's time, like they literally say on the wiki that the time could vary. I was getting like 8 minutes, but again, I didn't really play this that much, so I didn't really care. And also, all the other ones that were like Nighthound with like Crace Belger, they had Draconic with like the HP thing up, and I'm like, I'm not changing that crap, so I'm gonna just use the setup. Like, I'm not gonna play it that long anyway, so I'm gonna just use the setup. I was not changing my Tiki Draconic. I didn't care. Oh. But yeah, this was a setup for this. But yeah, that's pretty much it for all the Guild Wars setups. So now we will get into the tier list. Oh yeah, just one more extra small thing before we get into the tier list. One thing I wanted to go over. This is the Morning Rush rankings for individuals. Look who made it to number 99. Missed opportunity not hitting 98, by the way. But this is the first time I've ever actually done like Morning Rush like this before, and this was the first time that I've ever hit the MR sheet for solo by myself. That was cool. I mean, not by myself because we were taking grouping, but you know, not crew is what I'm trying to say. Not crew. So that's the first time I've ever hit, you know, MR sheet, which was pretty cool. It's not really something I was expecting, to be honest. It's not really something I'm aiming for. I'm just trying to do my best. But it was cool. It was cool that I got on there. So that was nice. Anyway, now we go on to tier list for real. All right, so this is my tier list. Now, first of all, we got to set some ground rules. First of all, well, before any of that, thanks again, GameWith, for creating this tier list. They always make a tier list at the end of Guild Wars so that people can tier their stuff. Thanks again. I'm going to post the link in the description in case you want to make your own tier list. But before we get into anything, again, I already know people are probably going to screenshot this joint out of context anyway, but this tier list is based off of purely what I use during this Guild War, and the B tier does not mean anything is bad. The B tier is literally my tier for putting anything that I saw being used, but I did not actually use myself. Nothing in B tier is actually like B tier. It's just the stuff that I saw. But it's just, I like to put stuff in there just as a reference for, you know, stuff that got used. So B tier, you can essentially ignore in terms of tier list ranking, but it is a, you know, it's just, you know, a spot to put extra stuff. Anyway, that being said, next thing, there's going to be some characters on here that you may not have seen a lot of in like normal full auto comps or manual comps, but they were used in, you know, like the grouping comps. So I used that stuff for that. So it was very good for me. It was very good for me. Again, this is my tier list based on the stuff that I use. Anyway, going into SS tier. Now, I mentioned this on one of the streams that I did. If I was petty enough, I would reserve the SS tier purely for one character. That's Ilsa. This character is so freaking busted. It's not even funny, bro. She is one of the best characters ever, bro. She's so freaking good. Like, the thing about it is Ilsa can do so much by doing literally nothing. She does she does. You don't have to press a button. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to cater to her. Well, you do kind of have to cater her in the terms of like gun and bow allies and stuff like that. But you don't really have to like do anything with her. She just stands there and she does a lot of damage. She does follow up damage when you attack. She buffs you by just being in the party. And then when the turn ends, she also just nukes depending on if you hit the condition or not. Absolutely disgusting character. Absolutely disgusting. I used her in literally every single setup that I used, except for I guess the 250 full auto and my EX plus, purely because the EX plus I didn't need any character. But everything else, Ilsa, god tier. She is so ridiculously good. And the fact that she also comes with Bridekeeper, like she literally, they could not have picked, they literally had to make formal just to say, hey, you are going to be married to this chick. And I literally ringed Ilsa before this guild war going in. Honestly, probably the best non-earth ring I've ever used in my entire life. She is so good. She is so good. And for me to say that about a water character, you know she's got to be good. All right, anyway, Ilsa Glaze aside, I need to read her fate episodes, by the way. Octavia, very, very, very strong character. We already knew Octavia was busted as crap. Although I didn't use Octavia as much as I did for Ilsa, you very much could have. You very much could have. She was in, even if you weren't using her for the lower button stuff, she showed up in a lot of the full autos as well. You even saw it in the 250 full auto. I used her in that. Honestly, she just does a disgusting amount of damage. She gives you an unchallenged for one hit. She can dispel. She's just good. She's a really freaking strong character. She does it all. She does low button stuff. She gives you a TA and echo, freaking disgusting. She also has double strike for herself. Just gross character, honestly. Just really freaking strong. Like I said, not quite as strong as Ilsa in my opinion, but she enables a lot of stuff that I would say even Ilsa can't, just because her S1, that 50% TA is not to be understated. And also the fact that she gives you like unchallenged and echo is really, really sneaking strong. And again, the dispels. She's really good. Orologia main summon, giving double strike to Hrace Velger MC, goated. If you need Transcendent Blue as well, goated. Just honestly, Orologia works really well with water stuff. It works very well with water stuff. It works very well for the normal full autos, stuff like that. It works very well for the manual stuff because, again, the double strike. Just very strong summon. Very strong summon for water. Tetragod. Honestly, Tetragod, I know a lot of people like to say that Soul Evoker is like the best of the Rebirth series. But that's mostly because of Womdis. I would say, unironically, I think Tetragod is better. Tetragod is so strong, especially when it comes to Hrace Velger, but it's the fact that so many characters in water can hit for so many freaking hits. They have so many like split autos, so much normal attack damage, so much seeking skill damage, nukes going out, so much double strike, tri-strike, all this. Like, you get so much benefit from having supplemental damage in there. And then Tetragod being more than Belial, assuming you can keep the HP, disgusting. I think overall this reverse summon, it works so well with water. Like, it's so good. It's so good. Tetragod is really freaking strong. Shinji and Rei. Now I know there's controversy out the wazoo about Shinji and Rei. It seems like for the most part, people were able to come up with setups that did not need Shinji and Rei. But Shinji and Rei honestly went very, very freaking far, even to the point that it was showing up in like that 200% or 200 full auto. Very strong. Shinji and Rei, 30% TA, not to be understated, especially in the element that has a weapon that cuts your TA by 100%, TA is very valuable. Very valuable. But the thing about it is, even if you don't need the TA per se, having the strength buff also buffs your damage quite a bit. Quite a bit. So honestly, like, it's a very good deking summon. And technically, the other thing about it too is it's also like non-recastable. So you can also play with Yatima with it if need be. Just it's a really good summon. It's a really good summon. Honestly, I know people are seething, raging about that. I've talked about this summon at length. I talked about it a lot more with BB in the pre-go or Ramble, so I'm not gonna sit on it too much here, but just know it's Seeking Strongest Ground. Yatima, finally, I'm starting to really see the use of Yatima when it comes to like the grouping setups and actually needing to press 2 summons. Very, very strong. This is usually Yatima's place is in Guild War, and finally, I'm really starting to see the Seeking benefit of her. So yeah, Yatima, very good. Charybdis, also very good for any setup where I don't think I really used her for anything that was like full auto or anything like that, but grouping, very good. Needed that damage. Kaguya, absolute goated summon. Double Kaguya. I'm trying to get Celestials all day long. Kaguya, goated. PNS, I'm still keeping an SS, even though a lot of my setups, the vast majority of my setups were Grace Velger, so PNS did not matter that much. But as soon as you take Grace Velger out, don't PNS. Don't PNS. It always comes back, baby. It always comes back. I've said it for ever since PNS has been introduced, bro. Double PNS, it always comes back. It always comes back. So as soon as you drop Grace Velger, PNS is back. It's optimal BIS as soon as you drop Grace Velger. So still SS. Galele's, we talked about it a little bit earlier. I did see a couple double Galele setups. I did use it for the 90 as well. When I tested it on some of the low, like the higher floors, like the later floors, it wasn't as much damage for me. So I don't know how it was for other people, but mostly it was used for my 90. And honestly, I think it's mostly because of the awakening on it, because I was running double Kaguya. So it was just kind of nice there. Yatima Bow, very strong. I mean, it's the Exalto. The Exalto is Exalto, just like PNS is PNS. Use 2 to 3 of these in some setups. So pretty good weapon. Octavia weapon, I ranted about this weapon at length, just like Octavia herself. Absolutely disgusting. Just TA, crit, Death Strike. It's so good, especially in this element. Again, with the weapon that cuts your TA, having all that TA is Seeking good. I was honestly surprised there were a decent amount of setups that were only running one of them though. Instead of like 2, but one, I mean, even one by itself is still really good. I guess it's mostly because people were trying to hit the crit or they needed stuff to survive, stuff like that. But still really good. Then the Folia Bow is pretty much like the Galele's, where it's just kind of like a filler slot where if you need the stats, you need the stats. Having the big crit is like really strong. So, you know, you have the Folia Bow. Price Velger, I hope that there's no more Price Velger down players, bro, because I saw a lot of people were talking about when I did the tier list recently. They were like, oh, why are you putting Price Velger in S if you don't have the bullets? It's like Garbo. I think people very much underestimate how strong Octavia plus her weapon, plus to a lower extent like Shinji and Rei, and the fact that Ilsa can just TA by herself anyway. People underestimate all these different pieces that make her, also Bridekeeper, by the way. All of these different pieces make Grace Velger extremely good, and the fact that, again, it is such a strong weapon by itself, and its one detriment can just be completely negated by by the characters in the element and the weapons in the element. It just makes it really, really strong, even outside of like the manual burst stuff. Even for full auto, we saw it a lot in the, you know, even in 200 and in 250, you see people full autoing with it, and there's just no downside. There's no downside. You're not out of TA. You can still GTA every single turn. it doesn't really matter. So it's just like you get to use like arguably like your strongest main hand in water while also just not having any detriment whatsoever. Absolutely, really, really strong. I used it for everything besides my 90 and the 250 full auto. And even for 250 for like the grouping, definitely Hraesvelgr. Definitely Hraesvelgr. It's just all over the place. It's all over the place for Guild War. It's very, very strong right now. Water is very strong and it makes Hraesvelgr very, very strong. Bridekeeper, I know a lot of people are getting Bridekeeper gapped in general, but also 2 Bridekeeper gapped. Very strong weapon, especially if you're using Hraesvelgr. Helps with the TA, gives you just a ton of extra supplemental damage. Supplemental damage in general is just really, really, really strong in this game. So it's just like, you know, Bridekeeper, double Bridekeeper, it's a mainstay. Also, they just give TA because why not? The Celestial gun, honestly, pretty good weapon. I was very on the fence about whether or not to awaken it and which awakening to choose between attack and skill. I ended up going for skill because the attack for me, like for my account, I just don't really need the attack. I feel like if you don't have 2 Bride Keepers, or if you're missing like Octavia's or something like that, then having an attack one for the extra TA might be useful. Or if you're missing like Shinji and Rei. But if you have all that stuff, I feel like the attack ones priority goes down significantly to the point that I just wanted to use the skill one just to get some extra damage on the setups that I was using it for. But honestly, in general, Celestial Gun is very good, especially when you're using the gun related stuff like Bridekeeper and Hraesvelgr. All right, now moving on to S plus, we had the 2 Harvins. So the 2 Harvins, pretty much for me, it was only 90, but I did see some manual setups. I saw a manual setup, which I think is low key the fastest manual setup I saw on 250, which was like 1 minute and 49 seconds. That was using the 2 Harvins. So, I mean, I guess they're really good. Like I said, they don't really go into SS for me because I didn't manual 250 like solo. So I didn't really use them for that. They were really only for the the whatchamacallit, for the 90 for the double Kage. But low key, I think you could have also used somebody like TN too. So again, they don't really get into SS for me, but they were useful. And I played 90 a lot, so S plus for me. Gabriel is mostly an S plus because she did actually see use for that 200 full auto. But the bigger thing is she's just backline for like everything, which usually I don't rate them that high because they're backline and everything. But because she was actually backline in like everything and I used her, I brought her up to S plus for this one. Zeta, very good for 150. That was pretty much it. Very good for 150. And then Lucio and Erica, very good for grouping. That was pretty much their spot. That was pretty much the only place I used them. I am just glad that I finally got use out of my Lucio anti-ticks, because if you don't know, I anti-ticks Lucio in like 2024 or 2023. Literally have like never used this man ever. People just told me to get him because he was useful with Hraesvelgr, which he is, but I just never actually really used it because I feel like his usefulness with Hraesvelgr was mostly for like Mugen and Guild War. And by the time that I had gotten him, he was pretty much ousted from Mugen. So without doing the Guild War stuff, he was pretty much useless to me. But I'm glad I finally got to use the unit. Aaliyah, I talked about her a bit earlier with the 250 setup, but that was mainly the place that I used her in. That was the only place I used her in. I did see her start to pop up in 200 though, but I think a lot of people were mostly using her for like 250, because during 200 I heard whispers of her not being used like a ton. I heard people using Uno a lot more in 200, but I could be wrong about that. Summer Bubs for the 200 full auto, again, very strong, but I actually bring him all the way up to S plus for that full auto, because that call, we talked about this with Phoebe in the pre-Guild War Ramble, that call being able to get rid of buffs is incredibly powerful, very strong. Also, it just gives you a little bit of extra damage with the nukes as you're taking turns too, so pretty nice summon for the full autos. Yatima, now I know people will probably say, why is Yatima all the way down in S? Yatima, I mean, honestly, I just didn't really use her until 250. And even then, the 250 was only for that full auto, which I barely did. Um, I didn't really hear that much about Yatima in 200 either. Again, the biggest star of the show I heard for 200 and even partially for 250 was Uno. So Yatima good, but I just didn't really use her that much. Shalim also in the 250 comp. She pretty much she comes out with S3 and then she also speeds it up so that you can use Aaliyah S3 faster. Pretty good for that setup. Same thing with Alexiel. Just pretty much this whole row of S was pretty much just the 250 full auto. So the Alexiel and the Wamda's main hand, all that stuff, that was all just the 250 full auto. So that's where it goes for me. Now let me skip to the Diaspora Katana. Again, the Diaspora Katana, that was for my honestly, I could have used it in EX Plus. It was in my 90, the original Horace Velger one I was talking about, and it was in my unused 95. I like never used 95, but it was in that too. So unironically, I felt like I needed to put it on here, even though I barely use it. Then for the evokers, Hase and Maria, it's kind of crazy that we're in a spot with water where Hasalia for me is in A tier, but unironically, Hase did not come frontline a single time this entire Guild War. She was only in the back line. That was it. I did not use her for anything else. And even then, she wasn't even always in the back line. Like, for example, my 90 that I was using for the vast majority of the time had Aruki and Gabriel in the back line, not even Hase. So Hase still very strong character, but unironically, just the fact that you have characters like Octavia and Ilsa and then just a third, you just don't really need to take the time to bring Hase out. And the fact that you also just have the Death Strike on Octavia's weapon, you just don't really need the Hase damage, which is crazy to say, but it just kind of is the reality of water right now. So Hase is still really good, but it's just not really needed. And Maria Teresa is just mostly backline stuff anyway. She did sometimes if the 250 fell apart, she would come in and just full heal everybody, which was kind of nice. She also helps dispel, which is also good, but that was pretty much Maria Teresa's spot. And then lastly for the B tier, so again, going over this tier is purely just the dumping ground for anything that I saw but I did not use. So even though they're in B tier does not mean they are necessarily B tier. Uno, like I mentioned a couple times before, Uno saw a lot of use in 200 and 250. People were just mashing with his defense essentially. Quatre, people used him for the dispels. So some people were using him, some people weren't. Lilo was being used, I guess, for full autos. I don't really know. I saw a lot of fan art of her, so people were using her. I don't really know what full autos they were using her for. Same thing with Drang and Vajra, to be honest. I think all these characters were just full auto characters. Cassius as well. Katura, I saw a lot. She was pretty much the gatekeeper of 200 manuals that were not grouping setups. Like the solo manuals, everyone was using Katura. Again, I'm pretty glad that I didn't get her with my anti-ticks and I chose Kukuro instead because I did not play any solo 200s. So I just did not need this character for anything. So I'm glad I went with Kukuro, even though I doubt I'll use Kukuro either, but I might use that box on Kukuro. So I'm glad that I got that instead of Katura. Maybe I'll get Katura one day. Maybe I'll just links mate her just for the heck of it. I don't know. Summer Fedial, saw her come up in full autos. And I think actually in manuals too, I saw Fedial come up, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, I didn't use Fedial for anything. Paella, very surprising. I did not use Paella a single time. The only place that Paella was useful for me was in my 95, which if you caught it earlier was unused. I did not do 95 like at all. So I just did not use Paella for any setup whatsoever. I know people were using Paella, especially if they were missing some of the higher tier characters or if they were missing damage just in general. They were using Paella for like burst setups and stuff, but I wasn't really missing anything, so I did not use her. Sylvia, I know people were using for like the full autos, maybe manuals too. Tien, I actually saw quite a bit of Tien in some of the manual Mana Diver stuff. I was seeing Tien pop up, so that's good. What's this dude's name? Gawain, I saw fan art of, but I'm gonna be real, I didn't see a single video. So I'm just going purely off of the fan art. I guess people used him for something. I'm guessing full auto, but I don't know. Anthuria I saw as a sat character for a decent amount of stuff. That was pretty much the only purpose of her. Versusia, I know a lot of people were having usefulness with Versusia, myself included, on the 250 full auto, because not only does it, she nukes, she gives you damage up and she dispels, which the dispel is very, very strong. Also, I guess her nukes also can hit like 3 mil, or maybe more, which can also help with lowering the boss's stacks. So Versusia's summon was getting used quite a bit. Shishio, I did hear people using it on Omnioji. I did not use it in general. I think maybe people were using it on Kingo too. I did hear a decent amount of people saying they were using Kingo this Guild War. So I did hear people using Shishio, but I don't think Shishio was anywhere in the optimal stuff, from what I can tell. I don't know. Halloween Tien's gun, I did see a couple times for like survivability reasons, but I didn't really see it in anything that like super mattered, at least from what I can tell. And then Aaliyah's weapon, I did see a few setups that used it as the main hand, but honestly, I didn't full auto that much, so I didn't feel the need to bar it, and I didn't really see it in the fastest stuff either, so I also didn't feel the need to bar it. So I just saved 3 bars there, I guess. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for this tier list. And that's pretty much it for the video, honestly. Again, pretty fun Guild War. I learned a lot this Guild War. I played very differently this Guild War than I have before. And again, sorry if you were expecting, a lot of streams. My streaming schedule will be a lot more sporadic for this type of thing, because not only am I doing the morning rush, but if we actually have to play through the morning rush, I might not feel like streaming afterwards, which is what happened on day 4, where I pretty much finished all the playtime. Then I just went to go eat, and then after that I was just like, I just want to do some 90 and just chill. So I didn't really feel like streaming on day 4. But so my stream schedule will be a bit weirder for Guild Wars going forward. But I'm having fun. Know that. Know that I'm having fun in the background, but I will be streaming whenever I can. So look forward to that. Speaking of streaming, again, I said I would put it in the end of all these videos. I am still streaming on Twitch now too. Whenever I stream, I'm dual streaming on YouTube and Twitch. I'll put my Twitch in the description. I'm Talented Track 98 over there instead of AJT 500. So if you see me, come say hello. But that's pretty much it for the post Guild War Ramble. Honestly, pretty fun Guild War in general. I still don't like water, but it was pretty fun. I enjoyed myself this Guild War. So, anyway, tell me about your results and rounds and stuff like that, and characters that you used that weren't on the tier list in the comment section below. And thanks for watching. Thanks for the support as always, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.